Now, this stone is an interesting one, this retirement stone. I did say last week that I would talk about retirement. No, like I said, and I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. Like I said last week, I'm not going to talk about 401ks or pensions or anything like that. You've got to sort that stuff out yourself. I'm going to talk about the process. This going down into the sea in a submarine that will never return. Battening the hatches as the ship goes down. Sealing everything against the water so that it doesn't rush in. Leaving behind the flotilla armada above the waves to carry on their course for whatever endeavor the group is attending, while I sink down below like all the rest. That's exactly what it's like. Today, I was in a meeting. I've told everybody, my boss repeatedly, management repeatedly, I've even posted on LinkedIn that, hey, I'm not a busy guy. I've got time. I can help with things. So, hearing that, management asked me to help out with a giant project, which is normal for me. I get giant projects. That's my specialty, is big projects, multi-year projects, big teams, big budgets and contracts, vendors, connections, requirements, executive sponsorship, connections with the executive office for the county. All this stuff. That's what I do. That's where I live. That's what I am as a project manager. So I was asked to project manage a suitably large project. If I wasn't retiring, I would be the right guy to give this one to. It's a big one. It's starting now, what is it, 2024? It's gonna finish around 2027, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4 years, probably a little more, maybe round it up to 5. Big project. Now, it might seem strange to give a project like that to a guy that has 45 work days left. What is that? 9 Mondays left. And so that came out today. We had a meeting today with the one vendor to talk about something. It's what it is no matter. Doesn't matter. I don't have to describe that. But we did a round of it was like a kickoff meeting of sorts, and we did a round of introductions. 2 things happened that were of note. The first thing was that in the round of introductions on both sides, on our side, management introduced the team on our side, and I was skipped. Now, don't worry, it's not the kind of thing that I care about, not at this point. I'm fine with being forgotten. I'm getting used to being forgotten. Now, when I say this, invariably I get the wrong response from people. They think that I'm complaining or that I'm upset or I feel bad somehow that I'm being forgotten in some way. Please don't feel that way. I'm not at all troubled by being forgotten at work. I frankly don't give a damn about work. No, I mean that in just that way. Ugh. Work is just the thing that I do to keep my family afloat. I would not do it. If I won the lottery, I would not do it. I mean, I wouldn't just drop right out. I'd say, hey, I won the damn lottery. Okay, what can we do to best facilitate onboarding someone who can take my place? I'll train them, and so I can get the hell out of here. So that's the attitude that I have toward that. So being forgotten at work doesn't trouble me at all, but it's noteworthy. It's also noteworthy that in the meeting today, I said very few words. As the project manager, normally I would take a leading role. I would organize the meeting. I would kick things off. I would have an agenda. I would run the agenda. I would take notes. I'd create action items and facilitate next steps. I didn't do any of that. I let the vendor project manager do it. I wasn't even noticed in the introductions. And then what was happened was someone said, because there were a lot of people in the virtual room, someone said, "Did we miss anybody?" And I raised my hand, so to speak, said, "Yeah, Kurt Bell here. Hi. I think I was missed." And the person that had been doing the introductions said, this is when that really stuck in my mind was, "Oh yeah, so sorry, Kurt. He's our," and then there was a pause. "Our sort of project manager." Now, being called a sort of project manager is not a problem for me, just like I said, for all the aforementioned reasons. But wow, I'm a sort of project manager. Now, I know why the person that said that used that term, because they are the same person that invited me to the project, and they are also my boss's boss, who is keenly aware of the fact that I'm leaving very soon and that anything you start with me today is not likely to finish. If, to put it in a rather crude sense, if I was a porn actor, you wouldn't want me in your porno, because I'll be gone before there's a money shot. Oh man, I can't believe I said that in the context of work. So there I am, a sort of project manager. Now, I didn't really even touch upon the thing that I wanted to say relative to retirement, because what I want to say is I want to record for myself and anyone who's interested what it's like to go through this process. I don't know anybody that talks about this. People just decide to retire and they have their going away party and they get their gold watch and they go out the door and they're gone. Now, I've had several people before the pandemic that retired on my watch while I was at the organization. And the organization I work with is ginormous. We have a big 5-story building in downtown Riverside. And I would make it a point, because I was so curious, if they would allow me, if it were somebody I was close with, to walk with them to their car, for two reasons. One, I was curious, like I said. But two, I didn't think that they should have to walk alone with their little handful of stuff at the end of the day. And for some reason, every one of them left about 2 p.m. They would go out to lunch and wouldn't stay the whole day and leave about 2 p.m. And I would walk them out to the car. We'd walk through the parking lot. We'd make pleasant conversation about next steps in their lives. Me, the company man, all spit and polish. They, even though they might not have their shirt untucked, they walked like their shirt was untucked. What's the word? Disheveled. There was a disheveled appearance and way about them. But not a single one of them, man or woman, ever told me their mind, ever explained to me what was going on, or shared what were their feelings. And even when I met them weeks or months later, or even years later, so be it the same. Nobody's had anything to say. And I think I know why. I think there's two reasons. One is that most people don't talk about life. It just happens. Talking about life is for the philosophers. They just live it, let it be, and that's just fine. Two, this is the one that keeps me holding my tongue, is the keen awareness of the fact that there's many out there who are not as fortunate as us, who, for whatever reason, cannot retire at our age or later, or in some cases ever. And it seems insensitive to talk about this subject in the face of people who may never enjoy this experience for all its blessings and challenges. And for the sake of decorum and propriety, the people retiring hold their tongue and keep their mind. And that is a respectable and a good thing to do. But as for me, I'm going to speak. I'm going to talk because for two reasons. One, my daughter. I hope she can benefit from her dad's utterances. Two, I've been a content creator for a long, long time. And I know that my open and honest sharings of life's important things reach ears to whom they serve good advantage. I know that by the numerous letters and email, letter by letter, I mean email, email and comments and all kinds of correspondence of every sort from people who have told me as much. So, better to speak openly, even if it may hurt some to whom such a boon does not apply, or such benefits cannot be found or are out of reach, for the sake of those to whom it may still help or be helpful to as they prepare and may undergo the same such experience. So let me tell you now, clear and honest, what it's like to go through the process of retiring from a career that has been engaging and challenging and heartbreaking and rewarding, but mostly heartbreaking, mostly hard, mostly difficult, mostly like a great stone weighted upon our shoulders, my shoulder, crushing down for decades. What's it like? It's exactly like after those decades of carrying that stone upon our shoulders, we suddenly find the leverage or the position or the angle to push and press and free it from our bodily crushing grasp. It's not a grasp. It's a crushing weight. Suddenly you find the leverage or just the right angle, and the stone lifts and turns and heaves and lets off. That moment of liberation in slow motion is what it's like, for me at least, in the last several months before the end. A slothing off. Is that the word, slothing? Shrugging off? I can't remember. You get my drift of the weight of all that responsibility. I have more anecdotes that I could share from work. Things are coming in, rolling in every day, but I won't. Let me just suffice it to say, the weight is shifted and gone. And now, 45 working days out. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more Mondays. And it feels like nothing can touch me now. There's no task that I could be given, no training I have to take, no responsibility or reprimand. Not that I've ever really known reprimand in my career. I've lived my life and executed my career in such a way as to, I believe, be beyond reprimand, except for some of the early years after I came back to America, and I deserved it that first year when I didn't know what the hell I was doing. That's what it's like. It's all the, it's all the benefit without any of the responsibility. So, and this is, I need another sip to really get the truth serum now. Here's the sly part. I hope my bosses don't see, but oh well. In meetings now, it's blah, blah, blah. Remember Charlie Brown and the way that the adults sounded whenever they talked? That's what meetings are like for me now. But I'm so practiced and so trained and experienced in what I do that I can pick out the bits I need to keep track of. I can recognize the parts where I need to interject. But all the rest is just wah, 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 wah. It doesn't matter to me anymore. It's not that I don't care. It's just it's literally irrelevant. They're discussing things and issues that are beyond me now. Because I've sunk beneath that aforementioned sea, the superstructure of myself is now mostly below the water. There's very little above now to apprehend the semaphore and signals of the other ships around me. Do you know how when you drop your head below the water, the silence can be enveloping and sudden? That's what it's like to be 45 days from retirement. The other thing that it's like is this scary sense of a trap. It's like maybe what Hansel and Gretel should have felt when they came to the gingerbread cottage in the forest. Too good to be true? Is there something up? Will there be an end as soon as I get near? Well, I think I've got that part figured out. I know what that is now. It's something that I can't remember the title of now, but it's something called, like, I think it's Quality of Life Index or something like that. And there's usually, when you think about life longevity, life longevity is like for men in America now is like in their 80s. In Japan, it's like late 80s, something like that. I can't remember. I may be getting these wrong, but you get the idea. It's like how long you might expect to live. But there's another index called Quality of Life Index or something like. It's not index. It's something like that. It's got a little acronym. And that gotcha that I mentioned is the fact that, okay, what the Quality of Life Index measures is the years of a person's life, man or woman, which will be lived in relatively good health, after which we should expect disease, debilitation, and eventually death. It turns out the gotcha, the thing that I've been suspicious of all along, is real. Because for men in the United States, that index ends at around age 63. For women, it's about 67. What that means is, if I retire now at age 60, if I lived as an average American man, I can count on about 3 good years of health. What that means is 3 years like what I know right now, where I'm sitting out here enjoying the campfire, enjoying the apple cider, whatever the heck, looking up at the stars, hearing the crickets, looking at my beloved Rudy sitting next to me, without a pain in my body, without a suffering in my mind. My intellect keen and at its prime. I've never felt so sharp of mind. Even though I could think faster when I was 20, I didn't have the experience or the self-discipline that I have now. Everything is good. But if I were an average American man, and there's a reason that I say this, that's going to end, if on average, in about 3 years. I've got about 3 more years of this before the end will begin to insinuate in. Now I'm lucky because I've, for a couple of reasons, mainly because of Japan. The fact that I married a Japanese woman, I've eaten a Japanese diet most of my life, and I've lived, 15 years in Japan, tilts the scale in the favor of Japan, because that index sees for Japanese people, men, I think it's around 72. It's a full decade longer by virtue of their diet, their lifestyle, their frame of mind, etc., their stability of life. Actually, I had a good talk with AI today about that, trying to figure out how the fact of my marriage to a Japanese woman, my consumption of a Japanese diet, both in my life and my long life in Japan, may have contributed to my quality of life index. And AI told me that I'm probably more like a Japanese man than an American man by virtue of that, and especially by virtue of the fact that I'm returning. So I return, so I leave now at 60. And accordingly, then I may have another full decade of good life ahead of me. But the gotcha is that in most cases that's not the case. 63 if you're an American, 73 if you're Japanese as a man, a little more years if you're a woman. So as someone who's preparing to retire, I feel this sense of a trap, like it's too good to be true, that beginning around New Year's this year, I'll be utterly free, waking every single day in the morning with a full day ahead of me to do whatever I like for as long as I like. It just doesn't seem possible. Like something's got to happen. Another shoe has to drop. Something has to break the spell. I know what that something is now. It's the quality of life index thingy. But now I know that I'm fortunate that I may have more years than I thought by virtue of the good fortune of having my connection with Japan. So now it doesn't mean that it won't end at a moment anyway, but you get my mind. Let me finish this thought with an image that I suggested to ChatGPT this evening as we were talking. I talk to ChatGPT every night now with the advanced voice mode. And we were talking about this very subject. I said, ChatGPT, it seems to me that this quality of life thing is like living in a room where the door is open and the sunlight is flowing through from the outside for year upon year upon year. But that at a certain age, when this quality of life index thingy expires, the door begins to close and the sunlight begins to fade. I said, the rate of closure is the key. For some, it might close slowly, giving us years of good light of sunshine coming through. For others, it may close quickly, shutting the door in a few years into the darkness. For others, it may slam shut. And of course, the door may slam shut at any time during life. There's never any guarantee. It was interesting to hear the advanced voice mode's delight as it said, Kurt, yes, that's a very apt way to think about it. And it celebrated my observation, if I do say so, of the door being open and suddenly shut. And I think the thing is that we live our lives thinking that door will be forever open and the sunlight will always come in until one day a heart attack or a death in our sleep for some reason or another will take us away. That's not likely to be the case. More likely is that we will weed away one by one through attrition, our lives disintegrating away through disease, old age, the infirmities that come of this, sudden death for some, lingering, painful death for others. I told you I would talk about retirement in ways that nobody does probably because it makes people uncomfortable, including me. These thoughts are not comfortable for me as either. But it's good to face them down. It's a fundamental element of my creed to face life honestly as I can. So there, I've said my piece. One more rock complete. Okay, I have 3 left to go. What was there yet to speak of?